Hello everyone. NASA recently announced that it signed agreements with 3 U.S. companies to develop designs for low Earth orbit space stations. NASA is seeking to maintain an uninterrupted U.S. presence in low Earth orbit by transitioning from the International Space Station, which has been operational for over 20 years and is nearing the end of its useful life expectancy, to commercially owned and operated space stations. Today we're going to review the status of low Earth orbit space stations, both operational and those planned. Welcome to Reaching for the Moon, hosted by me, Ed Grace. The International Space Station is a cooperative program between Europe, the United States, Russia, Canada, and Japan for the joint development, operation, and utilization of a permanently inhabited space station in low Earth orbit. This agreement was formally signed in 1998 and currently expires in 2024. The Russian-built Zarya Power and Propulsion Module was the first module launched in 1998. Since then, several additional modules have been added by various space agencies and countries. The International Space Station has spent more than 20 years surviving the harsh environment of space while avoiding damage from the much dreaded and increasing space debris. The International Space Station has been mainly a joint effort between NASA and Russia. The ISS is divided into 2 sections. The Russian orbital section, which is called the ROS, and which is operated by Russia, and the United States orbital segment, which is operated by the United States, as well as many other nations. The ISS is controlled by 2 mission control operations, one in Russia and one at NASA Johnson Space Center. NASA has been hoping that the ISS would stay operational and its contract amongst the nations and space agencies would be extended at least until the end of the decade. However, early indications from Russia are that it does not want to participate in any extension of the International Space Station contract beyond 2024. The cooperative political forces that caused the United States and Russia to work together after the Soviet breakup and led to the formation of the Space Station Partnership have changed to anti-Americanism in Moscow and suspicions of the Russian objectives in Washington, D.C. Not good for future relationships in space. Without Russia's participation, it's going to be very difficult for NASA to prolong the life of the International Space Station as we know it today. The U.S.-Russian space partnerships remains intact for now, thanks to healthy working relationships among astronauts, cosmonauts, and engineers. Until very recently, NASA was dependent upon Russia to provide transportation to and from the International Space Station using the Roscosmos missions. However, with the SpaceX launch successes, NASA is now able to contract with a U.S. supplier to ferry our astronauts to and from the International Space Station. Since the initial International Space Station launch, there's always been at least one Russian cosmonaut and one NASA astronaut on board the ISS at all times. Earlier this year, China launched its Tiangong space station and later announced the International Lunar Research Station project, which includes both an orbiting space station as well as a moon base on the lunar surface. China has continuously inhabited its space station since launch and has announced plans to add 2 experiment modules to the Tiangong space station, with their launches scheduled for 2022. However, the past year, as NASA announced its future Artemis plans, Russia has failed to support any of NASA's goals and appears to have strengthened its space-related ties with China. Until recently, NASA has been very quiet about future low Earth orbit plans. However, with this press announcement, NASA hopefully is back into the space race with China and Russia again. 18 months ago, NASA selected Axiom Space of Houston to provide at least one habitable commercial element which would be attached to the International Space Station as NASA continues to open the International Space Station for commercial use. The selection of Axiom Space was a significant step forward, enabling NASA's development of independent commercial destinations that meet NASA's long-term needs in low Earth orbit beyond the life of the ISS. Initially, Axiom's element would attach to Node 2 forward port on the International Space Station. Before retirement of the International Space Station, Axiom plans to detach its modules attached to the ISS, add a power and thermal module with an airlock, and commence Earth orbit on its own as an Axiom space station, orbiting the Earth. NASA's ultimate goal is to establish a robust, American-led commercial economy using low Earth orbit space stations. Hopefully, these 3 new awards are going to help stimulate the U.S. private sector in the development of commercial, independent space stations that will be available for use by government, private sector, and international customers. The 3 companies that received these awards are Blue Origin of Kent, Washington, and they received about a $130 million contract. Nanoracks of Houston, they received a $160 million contract. And Northrop Grumman Systems, Dulles, Virginia, they received $125 million. We will discuss the details of their planned space stations in the near future as the information becomes available. Well, that ends today's discussion on low Earth orbit space stations. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's going to be a very exciting time as new space stations are announced and go into orbit. Hit the like button as well as the subscribe and notification buttons if you like this video. That way you're going to receive an email every time Reaching for the Moon posts a new video. Thank you for watching, and remember always, failure is not an option. Bye.